this is a, here we go, we're recording now, so don't say anything crazy, Eric. As I said, this is a member benefit really of being in this on the ground floor, seeing it before the community and the industry. And this is your opportunity to kind of chime in and, you know, make comments, do whatever you got to do. We'll be good. So we'll start here in about 90 seconds, precisely, everyone's counting. All right. All right, Jessica, I'm gonna see if I can share my screen here. Let's see if I can make this happen. First timer here. Let's do screen one. Let's do this. Is this what we're doing here today? Hey, Jessica, you see my screen all right and everything? Jessica. All right. Give everybody.
All right. Yes, it all went in crazy, but yes, I see it now.
All right. Good. Perfect. All right. We'll give everybody about 10 more seconds. And we'll start this party here. They can catch up. All right. Let's do this here. So we're up to 40 something people here. We should we have about 80 registered, so we'll make it happen here. So welcome everybody. The goal here today is to give you all as members, this is a member exclusive, an early preview into the Order Status 2.0 service. I think this, and if you banter back and forth in Slack, if you don't participate in Slack, you should definitely get involved in Slack, because there's good information comes across there. But I put a note in Slack earlier a little while ago that I think this is could be one of the most impactful services that we've released to date. It takes the simplicity of order status and turns it into a machine that can kind of, I don't want to say revolutionize, because that's kind of a dumb word, but really change the way we do order status in this industry. The way we do customer service. You know, I think there's the mantra out there that people are looking to quote unquote replace the phone call, replace the email. That's great and all, but what we're looking to do here is we're looking to automate customer service, right? There's a lot of industry salespeople out in the industry this year that, you know, they got enough going on selling, and they really can't spend all their time being customer service reps when they can be selling. So our goal here, we have a lot of goals with this service, and I'll go through them, but I think that's a big one. Customer service automation is where it's at. So it's not that hard. That's some good news. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm John Norris. I lead our education work group. I'm technically on the membership, marketing, and education committee that Ashley from Facilis runs. So it's one of the many opportunities and places to get involved in promo standards. We have a whole committee structure, which we went through last month at our member meeting. So, you know, I'll do a bunch of shout outs here to get involved as we go, but make sure you're, you know, if you want to get involved, great. If you think there's somebody in your company who should be involved, throw their name out there, reach out to Jessica, Eric Alessi, or myself, or Ashley, or anybody who runs a committee, and we'll get that going. Real quick, be remiss if we didn't mention promo standards. Still, we haven't changed our mission, thank goodness. So we collaborate to create industry-leading open standards, right? I think that concept of open standards is more important in the last 3 months than it ever has been. So we're enabling industry participants to improve customer experience. That's what Order Status 2.0 is about, improving customer experience, reducing transactional friction, and effectively executing a digital strategy. So we do a lot of cool stuff. So as I promised a few days ago on Slack, I got to do a quick shout out to our Promo Standards Technology Summit and Hackathon. We sent out an email, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, announcing the dates and the location. I'm going to give you a few more pointers and tidbits here just because I can. We've locked in, signed all the contracts. We're locked in. So October 2nd, we're going to kick off the industry's first ever industry-wide hackathon. It's going to run for 24 hours where we break people up into teams, cross-functional teams, technologists, business people, marketing people, whoever you're sending to the Tech Summit. If you want them to participate in the hackathon, we'll have kind of if you only want to do the hackathon, you can do that. If you only want to do Tech Summit, you can do that, but we encourage everybody to do both because our goal is to break out into a dozen teams and tackle some pretty awesome industry technology issues. So that'll be awesome, followed by Technology Summit, where we'll have a technology track, or your more traditional industry relevant technology track. And we'll also have a kind of an integration development track as well. So if you're more on the business side, we have a track for you. If you're more into the weeds, we're going to have that community and that content covered for you as well. One awesome thing, I live in Buffalo, New York, where I think we're on our 6th month of winter here, and it sucks. We're coming out of it. Our last bit of snow looks like it's about to melt today. So we are going to sunny Tampa, right on the waterfront, right by the arena. So there's the Marriott Water Street is our location that we're at. It's got an awesome location, a lot of cool venues, restaurants, bars all around it. So we didn't think that this crew was very beach heavy, where it would be partying up on the beach every day. So found a location that I think kind of matches our tech vibe for this crew. Really looking forward to it. Jessica did a lot of hard work, narrowed it down from about 20 locations, and this one's gonna be pretty awesome. So what's gonna happen is, in terms of registration, members, we do anticipate this thing to sell out pretty quick. Members will get a first shot for a few weeks at registration. And then if there is any spots open after that, we'll open it up to the wider industry community. But it's important for us to make sure that we're giving members the opportunity to participate, because first and foremost, we're looking after our own community here. One cool thing, we have a lot of fun events lined up already. We've rented out an entire venue. The venue's motto that they have on their wall is "It's on like Donkey Kong." So I'm not going to give it away of what it is or where it is. You who live in Tampa probably know exactly where it is, but just remember the Donkey Kong thing. So I think we're gonna, do some fun events. It's not going to be your, stuffy technology conference. We're going to keep it lively, make sure everybody has fun. We'll kind of roll from there. All right, let's get back into the quote unquote meat and potatoes. You are very much during this presentation, as Eric Schoenberger likes to say, see how the sausage is made. There are some dirty aspects to it. There's a few open-ended questions we still have on wrapping this thing up at the end, but I think it's important, especially you all as technologists, business leaders, see some of the background and the discussions and questions that went into making order status. It's not trivial. I think I'm going to try to highlight a lot of the differences between OS 1 and OS 2 to make sure that you see, I think hopefully what we're getting out of this is a natural progression of things that went awry or could have been done better in order status 1, plus a whole new set of enhanced capabilities in order status 2. So it'll be good. Like I said earlier, early access to standards is a member benefit. Just remember that. It's important, and our goal is to get this thing finalized, kick out the documentation and WSDLs, all the XSDs to members, call it months in advance, or at least 30 days in advance of a wider launch. But at the end of the day, it's important that we get this information to you before everybody else, because you're members. Okay, so last month when we went through the kind of the committee roundup, Eric Schoenberger kind of alluded to what OS 2 is kind of looking to solve. So I think it's very important to mention this. So order status 1.0 is not going away, right? There's almost 200 plus endpoints listed for order status. I know of distributors who have integrations with over 100 different suppliers with order status 1.0. So if you don't think that, oh my God, I got to go out and hire somebody to update this. Like, that's obviously not the reality. We saw a probably an 18-month progression of people going from product data 1 to product data 2. It's there finally where product data 2 has finally caught up to product data 1. So we don't expect this to happen overnight. My goal and our goal as education and promo standards is to kind of show you that there's a lot of cool stuff that you're missing out on in 2.0, and there's a significant ROI, AKA on the customer service automation side, to show your organizations and your teams that this is kind of a slam dunk. So having said that, the biggest problems we solved in Order Status 1.0 was that concept of PO splitting, right? I think you see traditional order status services as being this flat kind of, here's your order number, here's your status. Well, that's great, but it doesn't realize the complexities of how our industry actually works. So if you see competitors out there who have these very mundane order statuses, that's great and it looks pretty on the surface, but try sending in an apparel order from Halo to Sanmar, where Sanmar then breaks it up into 7 different internal POs across 7 different distribution centers and fulfills them either fully or partially, right? That I think you have to realize how it is that our supply chain works in order to actually accurately represent an order status in our industry. Not to say that we're looking to make it complicated, we're looking to make it valuable, right? If Sanmar and a Jay and team turn back orders in progress, but there's 7 different orders, how do you know which of those is actually the right one? So we have realized the complexities that this isn't a one-to-one order status service, and that's kind of what we had tackled in 1.0. Also, Erwin at Halo is he's our time zone champion, UTC all the way, baby. We've tried to make sure that we're recognizing that we operate across 5 different time zones within North America. So that's cool. All right, so what are we really looking to solve in Order Status 2.0? We really are going after, call it specific URLs for proofs, right? This is part of that customer service automation. Issue resolution is huge in this one. At the same time, for those of you who've been doing this for a while, you realize order shipment notifications 1.0 has line item detail. So you can actually see what shipped, what was completed. But that's great if you're a distributor or service provider. You don't know until after the fact, after I've shipped it, how that line item completion was done. So what we've done is relayed and pushed back upstream that line item information. I'm going to get into that here in more detail. Also the concept of quantity and partial fulfillments. Just because you order, especially in today's world, just because you ordered 1,000 doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get 1,000 fulfilled. So this is an easy way to, I'd say, cheat on order acknowledgements, right? If the biggest question is, I sent you an order for this, is this what you actually entered it as? It's important in the order status service for us to convey that information, because if I convey it in a shipping service or in an invoice service, it's probably too late, right? So we needed a place to plug the order acknowledgement service, and we're going to get the 95% of the benefit of order acknowledgement out of 2 simple methods. Then obviously the biggest change in all of this is issue resolution, customer service automation, right? I kind of went on my soapbox earlier about that. So that's the 4 big things we're really trying to solve here, knowing that we've already kind of tackled a few things. So there's 65 people in here. So the next part, I'm going to try my damnedest to keep this from getting dry. I'll try to keep it somewhat entertaining and somewhat lively. I realize that going through API specs is not the most awesome thing you're going to do today. So bear with me. I think we do this in 15, 20 minutes. It'll be a success. And I hope that I can, kind of convey what we're doing here. So at the end of the day, big picture, there's 3 methods that are in this order status 2.0 structure. There's the one that is 99% of the guts, which is get order status details. That's got the, traditional response from before, plus some additional things. I'm going to get into all this. This is just kind of setting the table for what we're going to do. There's another get issues, requests, and then there's a get order status search. I'm going to get into all that. But just know we're going to hit 3 methods here. 90% of the effort is going to be on this top one. And then we'll kind of blast through this. But at the end of the day, we have what used to be in old order status 1.0. So it's that header detail that you see on the top right there. And then we're going to dive into this concept of product arrays, which is that product line item details. And then issues array, which is the customer service automation, proof automation, issues, all that fun stuff. So looks dry now. Promise to keep it lively. All right, so I'm going to try to highlight the differences. So if you're not familiar with order status 1.0, I'll try to pull you along here. If you are familiar, you're going to be like, oh my God, like they finally fixed this. So let's get that going. I'm not going to go through this field by field. I'm just going to highlight the differences. So in here, we add a lot of this is terminology. One of the goals for Promo Standards is to standardize methodology, terminology, and schema across all of our statuses or all of our services. So when you see us go to 2.0, some of that is cleaning up 3 years of ad hoc development into a standardized methodology for standards development. So making sure that our field naming is consistent across all of our services, our schemas, match. So reference number here was just a name cleanup, right? I think before we had actually put in PO number. Don't worry about that. Good thing. Also in the request, we've added some bools in here. We catch crap from time to time of having large responses. So this is so back here on the screen here, right, there's this product arrays and issues array. If you don't want any of that info and you just want to get right to the header details, give me my PO, how it's split out, and give me the status. What you can do is you come into these return detailed issue information, just pass in false, and then the supplier, whoever's hosting the service, is going to suppress that information. And the purpose of this is to allow you to get that customer or that OS 1.1 experience if you don't want the additional noise. So it's just, we want to keep cutting back on the payload sizes as much as possible without adding too much complexity. One thing that you're going to see is we've changed the query type parameters. So this whole concept is, what are you searching by? Are you searching by a PO? Are you searching by a sales order? That's important. At one point, we had these long open-ended searches. Then we realized back to payload, that sucks, right? So next most important thing, for those of you who have implemented the purchase order, you realize that the only thing that returns from a purchase order submission is a transaction ID. So back to keeping our services consistent across all the services, you can now query an order status by transaction ID. So let's translate this to the real world. This is pretty much that orders waiting to be entered type key. Now, if you've sent me a PO and my auto processing window for electronic POs is every 10 minutes, you now have a transaction ID and you can query that, and you might realize that I haven't fully processed this in my system. You're still in that 10-minute queue, and now you can kind of see, oh, this order is waiting to be entered. So this is just a way to tie in the services and use other promo standard specific IDs inside of order status queries. Now, one of the issues back to scalability and functionality is backing up. We created a new method to do the key value pairs for order status. What we don't want to do, you realize back here, we took away the transaction date search and the concept of open PO search. Because what that was doing is, let's say you're a, $800 million halo who has thousands of open transactions, that payload sucks, right? It's way too big. And if they're searching for, and what they've ended up having to do is give me everything that's changed in the last hour, and even that's huge. So realizing the complexities of the data, we've gone in and pretty much said, you can now, just like our other services, right? Product data has product date modified. Product data also has the get product sellable. This is that helper function to give me the PO sales order key value pair list of just that. I don't need all the extra data for these queries. So like I say, give me the last update search, give me all the open PO search and give me open issues search. So this allows you to dive in, get your list that then you will then pound those PO numbers back through the main service, which we're going to get into in a second. So the key to all this is realizing that there is a scalability issue across all these services. We cannot time out services. We have to come up with architecture ways that make this a much more usable service, especially with the the additional features that we're adding. So this kind of gets it in line with our other services that already provide these helper functions. I see them being much more useful going forward. All right, like I said, trying to keep it lively. It's difficult. I get it. Next, we're gonna I just want to rifle through some changes here. We get crap from time to time about why aren't more fields required. I would say, right, there's 200 plus suppliers adopting promo standards, order status 1.0 right now. We can't eliminate the people who have just basic levels of information. This is why in the initial request, we allowed you to only filter out the basic levels of information and skip the product data and skip the issue resolution, because we realize that there is a set of companies that just don't have that information. So at the end of the day, we're trying to make this as adaptable to as many companies as possible. There's a fine line between adaptability and usability, and we get that, which is why the best practices committee is really focusing on how to recommend unrequired fields. So we're paying attention there. We don't make fields not required lightly. It's a debate, a nauseating debate for every single field, what is and isn't required. So if you want to weigh in on that, get involved in the standards committee or some of the work groups or the beta groups, because that's where those battles are won and lost. So back to kind of some changes. So order status 1.0 is on the left, 2.0 is on the right. Sorry, I should have labeled that. We had some naming conventions in the first one. It just didn't make sense anymore. Right, this concept of factory order number. It's kind of old school. So we've updated some naming conventions. Cool. Now sales order number. I get asked this question from developers mainly only, and not from the business community. Do we have to provide status ID and status name? Like, the redundancy of this field here was, I'll call it a bit ridiculous. Every developer who's implemented this comes back and says, why do I have to return both? Or do I have to return both? Right, so you're 2022, you don't have to return both anymore. Now you only have to return the enumerated value that Paul at PCNA and his styles are. So Paul is our consistency guide for styles across all services. He has decided to rename these, our enumerations to facets. I'm coming back to this, don't worry about it. I agree with it. It's just naming convention change, no big deal. Look it up, Google it, we're good. This is interesting. So we found out about 2 years into order status that there is a need and a functionality that many suppliers have across the industry, where they are taking QC pictures and proofs out on the production floor, and there was no means to provide that back, and the distributor and service provider community had a demand to feed this back up across the supply chain, meaning that I'm here at Starline, I've printed your bourbon mug here, and I need to then, my printer, before they go on and sign off and print the whole order, takes a picture of it. We use it for quality purposes, but we realize there is a usable experience for this inside of the order status service, meaning that we now have the ability, because this was the reason we had to add this is a large number of suppliers were puking this URL into the comments, and they were just expecting that people would implement it. So we had to find a real home for this. So at the end of the day, this is examples of what we do here is we take QC proofs that then we have a large group of distributors that reserve this data back up to the end consumer to show them, hey, your order is being printed. Here's a picture of it. Kind of that more of that, I hate to say the Amazon-like experience, but that's kind of the purpose of it in there. So that's new, it's in there. It was pretty much fixing a hack that suppliers had done to the order status service over the years. So that's in there, it's pretty cool. The respond to array, very heavily used. We made that consistent with the rest of our services, right? If you know, we introduced the concept of the order contact array in the PO service. We then reused it in the invoice service. So this was why are we redefining what a contact is in every single service? So this is our standardization across our family of services to make sure we're calling things consistent. Hopefully at the end of the day, requiring less work for implementation. Response required array, little controversial, but this has been eliminated. And it's been eliminated because this response required array is going to be tackled with this issue array, right? Like, hey, something's wrong with your order. This was just a true false flag before, right? Imagine if I just said, hey, something's wrong with your order. What do you have to do now? You have to pick up the phone and be like, what the hell's wrong with my order? Well, order status 2.0 comes along. Something's wrong with your order. I'm going to tell you exactly what's wrong with your order, and I'm going to tell you how to fix it. You know, so that's the difference between 1.0, 2.0, other standards that are out there. It does us no good to know you have a problem. Yes, somebody's got to pick up the phone, send an email now, automated email. How about we just provide resolution steps to get past that? Sorry, soapbox. There's a few, and we're going to dive into these. Remember, there's those two bool fields. You can turn these features off. So there's a product array and an issue array. I'm going to dive into that in a few seconds. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep this lively. It's tough. I get it. One other question I get every single implementation of order status is, what does this field mean? And the old order status documentation, it said time of order status. And I would say 50% of the people return the transaction date time of the request, AKA this is the time you requested the order status. Therefore, this is the time of basically date time dot now. Or what it should have been all along, the other 50% of people who are doing it, is when did this order status last change? How stale is this data? This is a very important piece, right? If you haven't updated your order status in a month, probably something's wrong. All right, so this is the accuracy and timeliness of this data from the said supplier, service provider, wherever the data is coming from. That's it. All right, what we got next? All right, I'm going to dive just real quick in this product array. Let's get this thing out of the way, and we'll come back and dip into the issue resolution. So the concept here is, backing up, remember this product array that exists over here on the right, this whole concept of, you know, explaining what products are in there. So back to standardization across all of our services. Old order status came out before we had product IDs, part IDs, before we had this concept of anything. So now we're putting that back into order status, putting it into order status. The concept here is to, if you send me an order for 100 pieces, but I'm only going to fulfill 90 if I'm going to partially fulfill it, you probably want to know pretty early on in the process. So this ability here allows me to tie products, parts, sales order line IDs, purchase order line IDs, so that line item accuracy. Order status in our industry happens at the line item. If you send me a PO in with 7 line items and I return you back in production, that's freaking useless. But if I say your mug is in production, your bag is out on proof hold, your pencil has shipped, this adds some more context, and then you can line that back up in your system, because I guarantee you in your system, you're holding this information at the line item level. So the biggest thing we didn't want to get into here is we don't want to jack with pricing. You realize that this is a part quantity line item matching only, right? We're not looking to, did you enter the right price? That's not what this is about. This is ensuring that, you know, we are mapping partial and full line items at the order status level back to the mothership. So we'll move on. Okay, for those of you who've been doing this, order status 1.0, I would say half the people had this gripe. Half the people just dealt with it and just we'll go through this. So if you look here at our old order statuses, you see something very consistent. You see that within our order statuses, we actually buried things that I would say technically are not unique order statuses that happen in a vacuum. For example, your order's on credit hold. Yeah, but I also have your order in pre-production, and I'm also going to proof your order. Just because it's on credit hold doesn't mean that it's not representing some other status as it flows through my system. The concept of holds and the concept of order statuses don't happen in a vacuum, and they can exist independently of each other. Just because I don't have your shipping information doesn't mean I'm not going to get it all the way through my production environment and hold it at a certain level. So we have then, made the conscious decision to split out holds from what are traditionally order statuses because they're not the same thing. I can receive your order and I can still have it out on credit hold, but you need to know both of those things. If I only return to you one or the other, how can you realistically use that data? So I'm going to dive into, this is the new order status 2.0 list. Remember, this is being recorded. We'll send all this stuff out. Don't worry about it if you're not, getting it all as we go through. So this is the new order status list. You're going to see a few things. Oh my gosh, I get this question 1,000 times as well. Why is there no ship status? Why is there no partially shipped status? We went from in production to complete. And the biggest question I got was, what does complete mean? So congratulations, everybody. We've joined the 21st century and we've added shipped statuses to our order status list. So we have the issue where we didn't add it before. It's like, what do you do with partially shipped orders? AKA, is it complete or not complete? So we have partially shipped, complete, canceled, the whole kiddo. So that's statuses, right? These are states that orders have, but orders within those states can also have issues. So we've taken all that hold stuff out of the old status list and put it into a new list because these things can happen in tandem with statuses. Few changes here. We recognize the complexities of the last 2.5 years, AKA kitting explosion, have introduced to the supply chain a whole new world of problems, AKA I'm waiting for you to send me a card or waiting for you to send me a product from another supplier, or I'm waiting for X to show up, this weird widget you want me to package in with your mug. I need to be able to convey that to you. So this is us growing up our issues list with the changing dynamics of the marketplace. So we've added that. The rest of them, pretty self-explanatory. I'm not gonna read them all. Notice both of these lists here, we took away the numerical values because they are enumerated. I shouldn't have to enumerate them and provide a actual numeric value plus the enumeration. I doubt anybody was, you couldn't even query. If you could have queried by the enumerated ID, the numerical value, I would say maybe there's something there, like give me everything less than 90, but nobody was doing that. So, all right. So where are we at? All right. So we've just tackled we did the header, right? That's what we've done before. I went to the product array. We're gonna dive into this issue array. Sorry, I'm pointing at my screen. You can't see me. I'm just doing this in person. So I'll still point at my screen anyway. You can just make believe. All right, so let's get to this issues array. Like I said, it's exciting stuff. I get it, right? It's super, you're all like, yay, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Let's talk about a few things here. Back to where the sausage is being made. Initially, so I was preparing for this presentation. I was like, well, why in the hell isn't issue ID required? This is part of the sausage being made. It should be required. But at the end of the day, there are 3 required fields. So if you're just trying to look at what's the problem with this order, does this order have an issue? Now, an order it's an array of issues, right? My order, back to this list, sorry to bounce around. My order can be on credit hold and proof hold at the same time. At Starling, we don't stop proofs from happening if the order is awaiting credit payment. I really only hold it back from production, or it's gone through art and gone through proofing, and I will hold my credit all the way up until I have to print the first piece. So like I said, these things multiple can happen. If I'm waiting for a shipping address, I'm still going to put that out on my production floor and settle that up before I actually ship it. Why should I wait? Obviously I'm taking the risk that I actually get a shipping address, but that's on me. So these are the 3 required fields. So at the end of the day, you can have an issue ID, which is your value that you're creating, the issue category from the list I just showed you, and how urgent is this? Is this, oh my God, the world's going to end if you don't resolve this? Or is this something that, you probably don't need to blow up your world to resolve right away? Most importantly, back to issue resolutions. Let's take proofing, for example. Proofing is atrocious in the industry, right? For those of you distributors or on the call, you realize that if there's 100 suppliers, 99 of them are doing proofing a completely different way. And you're running your users through these crazy experiences, and there's really no good workflow for it. Optimal workflow, I'm sure some are good. So what we've now introduced in here is I'm going to walk through an example of a proof hold in about 2 seconds here. But this, the whole concept here is we now give you the ability, here's the issue, it's this type of issue, you got to get on this right away. Oh, by the way, click this link and this will bring you to the way in my system to instantly resolve your issue. And we're kind of getting to some of this stuff moving forward, but whoop. Oh, all right. So here's an example in Starline of walking through this. All those fields I just showed you, awesome. So this is my issue ID. I assign it an issue ID, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Awesome, right? It's kind of big fan of Spaceballs, kind of combination an idiot would have on his luggage. Issue category, from that list I showed you before, proof hold, that's the enumeration that Paul renamed to facets. Thanks, Paul. The issue name, proof hold, right? That's a name I gave it. Basically, this is a human readable version of what I'm calling this hold. It's basically, obviously, if you serve up to your user a camel case proof hold, you're kind of like, what the hell is this? So it's just a easy categorization of this. Is a response required, urgent? I'd say true. Issue description. So this is my text description of kind of what's going on with this. So I wrote in there, this order is on proof hold, please resolve in 24 hours to keep your orders on schedule. This is essentially what my follow-up emails say today when I'm trying to clear up proof holds. Response required by, so I added 24 hours to my request time saying that you need to get this going in 24 hours or I'm going to change the ship date, all that fun stuff. Issue URL. This is, Starline has online proofing. This is the unique link to your order ID, right? Click this link, approve it, reject it, modify it, do whatever you got to do, but handle it right here in this URL instead of picking up the phone, asking me for a proof approval, checking somebody's email. This is just a way to quickly resolve these issues or get them to the person in your organization that can resolve them. Another important piece here, and this is kind of next level implementation, the issue blocking status. Basically, this is I can't move your order into production. Like, what's the next status that I will go to up until before I stop? Meaning that I have your order on proof hold. It's not going into production until it's resolved. Another example, I have your order on a shipping hold. It's not shipping until you give me some shipping information. So this is a very simple way. The easiest implementations of this today, proof holds, credit holds, and some sort of art hold, right? Where I need a piece of art, here's the URL, upload your art, let's get this thing moving. But these are things that can easily today, that most suppliers are providing URLs for, put that in your order status service, let's get this thing going, customer service automation, poof. Resolution array, not required. I'm going to explain this on the next slide. It's going to make your head explode. And I have a lot of questions for the community of how we best tackle this, but there's some really bad ways to automate customer service using this resolution array. And then the contact object, back to the thing, hey, if you do have to talk to a human or automate or email a human, here's the contact object that, oh, by the way, we've used that contact object in every single service that Promo Standards has done. Whew. All right, we're doing good here. Just like 2 more minutes of this and we'll kind of wrap this party up. All right, back to that where I said next slide, resolution array. So what this is a way for us, let's say I'm missing a shipping address. This is a way for me to automatically, or let's just say I'm missing a company name. I can provide you that issue saying missing company name, your order is shipping to a company is my message to the user. This is an example. It requires a company name. Basically, this allows me to build out an automated form, literally building out an entry form that you can then convey to your user. And then the concept is you post this data back to me, automation. If you're changing it in your system, this is that update mechanism to push it back into my system. So I'm telling you, I need a company name. Right now, what has to happen is, all right, email Sally in customer service, get a company name, push that back through the entire organization, tell your shipping department you now have a company name for this, and we can move this order off hold. The concept behind this is I need, here in my example here, I need a company name and an address one. So this allows you to build out a form saying, give me a company name and a string. It's the first field in your display order, building out a form. I have to have it. FedEx only allows me 35 characters, which is wrong. It's actually like 54. Most importantly, in the promo standards PO field, in the promo standards PO spec, what was this thing called? Meaning that I can then internally save my resources and tie this back to a purchase order. And then what version of the PO spec were you using? Would you be using this in a sense? Those are optional, but the biggest thing is this starts to build out a mechanism for pure automation of missing information, right? This is, yes, I get it. Back to my head exploding emoji. This is not trivial, but this is where we need to get to on the updating of missing information. The amount of bad orders that come in this industry are gross. And if the way to resolve them is picking up a phone and talking to somebody to do it, that's great, but that's no longer going to be a viable solution when there aren't people on the other side of the phone, right? When we have automated those positions or repurposed those positions, depending on how you want to call it. So now, this is where I said getting involved, getting feedback. I get it. It's a bit on the edge here, but we cannot develop standards and only solve today's problems. We have to look to see where the goals of businesses and automation are going and make sure that our standards are expandable enough to handle those types of situations. So that's really where this touches its toes. I have a billion questions for the standards committee after going through this. My biggest question is, what the hell is the mechanism to write this form data back to the supplier, provider, host? I've already asked Raj this. And what does that write back, post back mechanism look like? Or does it live in the PO? Does it live in OS 2.0? I think it lives here in order status 2.0, but that's 100% debatable because we're referencing all these fields back in the PO. Anyway, one of the beefs of the PO service has been the ability to update something after it's happened. This is the first way to update a live PO based on pre-described issue resolution that is structured and not free for all, change whatever you want. And then the supplier or host of the data specifically says, I need you to change these fields. This is required, do it. And then I can then automatically post that back into my system and nobody has to touch it. No emails, no phone calls, shit just happens. And then I also had another question of how we describe the fields that are reused in the PO standard. For example, company names used like 6 times in the PO spec, so we have to get better at describing that. But hopefully didn't confuse everybody. But at the end of the day, like I said, we started this off, the problems that we're trying to solve with this service, and I think we have very much solved the low-hanging fruit. Proofs. 62% of Starline's orders last year were proofed. That sucks. It adds complexity. We need to solve that. We can then use this service, automate proofs. Sales order, purchase order, line data. That's been a gap forever. We do PO splitting in this industry. Get with the times. We all do it. We can then describe it in a much smoother, eloquent way here. Quantities. There's a reality that just because you order 100 does not mean I'm shipping 100. This is where we convey that. issue resolution, customer service automation. I beat the crap out of this one. Hopefully it is what it is. So having said that, back to my sausage analogy, where are we? So we have a 95% completed alpha spec. Right now, these are my sausage testers, the standards committee. So they literally are about to get together in a month or so and flush out the remaining making of the sausage, right? They have gotten it pretty good. The goal is within the next few weeks to a month is get our sausage making wrapped up into a neat package and release it out to members. You are members. This is a member benefit. If you want to alpha or beta test this thing, reach out to somebody on the standards committee, or hit them up in Slack. You can find them in Slack. Participate in Slack. And last step is then we're going to blast this thing out and push for wide adoption. I know that a handful of distributors have already pre-committed. I know I'm personally testing with a few right now, fleshing out the mechanisms of this. I know the Performas, the Anti-Promos of the world, ePromos. There's a lot of companies that already see the value in this type of system automation and are chomping at the bit to do this. Distributor Central has already committed to launching this for all of their suppliers on day one, right? So I think you'll see a earlier adoption to this due to the ROIs that are capable of happening with this. So our goal is get your feedback, get this thing going, get this thing tested, and get it out there as soon as possible. But I think we're probably 3 months from a real go live in terms of blasting out to the industry. So I think now that you've seen this, Jessica's going to post back some of we'll post the recordings, go through it with your teams, kind of let us know. Stuart, I'm sorry, I'm trying to go to the chat and the questions. If you have any, that's the end here. If you have any questions, comments, chats, anything, thanks, Jeremy. Things I think look like Kevin James. I think that's an insult. Blah, 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 looks good. Blah, 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 blah. Any question? I'm just kind of going through. Oh, thank you, Jeremy, for not insulting me. I won't call you out anymore. All right. If you have any questions, here's the thing. Looks like some have been answered. Where's the time of last update query type? Erwin, if we didn't move that. Oh, okay. So Steve, I'm just trying to look. The query type to Erwin's question, and if I didn't answer that, that was back in that helper function. Because what happens, Erwin, is if you give me how many have changed in the last 8 hours, for you, I could be returning 200 orders. And if that's the case, that's a huge payload. So now I return you 200 PO sales order combinations, and then you then pump those back through the service and get what you want. That's back to addressing the scalability of the service. So line status, we got that one too. I got them all. Any other questions? All right, we did this in 45 minutes. Thank you, everybody. There is a education session third Tuesday of every month, 2 o'clock Eastern. Next month is kind of getting started with promo standards. We'll walk through the steps of finding people's information, finding endpoints, adopting early endpoints, just kind of the nuts and bolts of you become a member, you're looking for how to get involved, how to implement from ground zero. We're going to go through a bunch of tips on how to make that happen and make sure that everybody knows how to use things like our service validator, all that fun stuff. So thank you. We did it. We'll see you next month, third Tuesday, 2 p.m. Get some. Thank you.